Hi there, and welcome to this video. In the last video, we set up the database and generated DBIx schemas that we will need to communicate with the database using the ORM pattern. However, before we proceed, I'd like to quickly reflect to the last lecture, specifically where we made schemas with the namespace called myApp. Nothing's really wrong the way how we created them, but if you look at the files that were generated for our DBIx, we can see that all our schemas are namespace with only myApp. And if you look at result classes that we will explore later on, we can see that the namespace here is myApp, result, and note. Again, this is completely fine, but it would be more intuitive if we prefix them with schema. So what we can do, we can actually remove everything what's inside the lib folder. If we do that, and then we go back to our dump.pl and just add schema : in front of myApp. If we do that and rerun Perl dump.pl, looks like everything is okay, and if we check the lib folder, we can now see that we have lib, schema, and our myApp schema is prefixed with schema, and so is our result classes. So this is just going to be more intuitive to separate what is your actually code logic inside the lib folder and schema-specific logic. One more thing I would like to touch on is if you're getting errors that you're not able to run the dump script or you're not able to connect with the database due to authentication plugging, caching SHA-2 password issues, this is because there's new ways how MySQL version 8 is caching passwords. Now, in order to avoid this issue, what you can do, you can alter the user root password and change the process for password validation. In order to do that, we can copy this command, which I'm going to add to the video notes. We go to our phpMyAdmin, go to SQL console, paste that in, and click Go. You should no longer be seeing this issue. Right, so now we have changed namespace for our schemas, and we have sorted out the potential password issue. Now let's see how we can actually use the DBIx to fetch data from database. Now I'm just going to remove these comments, and let's introduce a new file. I'm just going to close this off, and let's call this script.pl. We're going to start by introducing the shebang line, so user, bin, environment Perl, use strict, and use warnings. And from there, to establish a connection to database through schema, what we want to do, we want to use this module, which is called mySchemaApp. If we go back to script and say use schema : myApp, and from there, we need to get an instance of the schema through connect method. We can do that by saying my schema, so that's just a variable where we say schema : myApp, and we use the connect method. Now this connect method accepts similar parameters the same as the make schema add method that we used before, specifically when it comes to the DNS string, the username, and the password. Now the first parameter is going to be DSN string, so we can copy this, go back to the script.pl, and paste that in as a first param. The next one is going to be our username, which is root. After that is going to be our password, which is password. And lastly, the fourth parameter is going to be a hashref of optional parameters you can supply to your schema class. Now here I'm just going to use one called auto commit equals 1. And if you know, you can run your queries in a transaction. And in case you have enabled transactions with explicitly saying that you want to start transaction, you explicitly need to commit them, then you can just say, when I do these operations such as create data, update data through my schema, I just would like to auto commit them. But don't worry too much about this. Right, if we save this, let's just quickly run the script by saying Perl. Remember, now we need to include our library because we're using the schema myApp, which is under the lib folder, and we want to say script. So script.pl, no errors so far, which is always good. But how can we test that we are actually connecting to the database and fetching the data? Well, one thing you can do, for example, if we would like to get number of the nodes we currently have for all the users, we can do schema, call a method called ResultSet, which is going to access a result set of our database table. In this case, we would like to see how many nodes we have, so we can provide a string called nodes, and we can call the count method. Now, of course, it would be good to also see that we are actually getting back the data that we expect. We know that currently in our database under nodes we have 6 items, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we go back to the script, let's use data dumper as we have done before, just to debug the data. So I'm going to say warn dumper and wrap this around the dumper method. Well, put this inside the dumper method and just print out the result and rerun the script. we're going to see that we're getting back 6 results. You can also use methods such as first to get the first record on our result set. And on that record, we can get the attribute description. So description and debug that. We're going to see that we're getting back node from user 1. And don't worry too much about this. We're going to explore these methods in more detail. The core thing is here that we have our DBIx structure set up, we know how to connect our schema to the database, and we know we're getting back result instances on our result nodes by fetching the first result instance and just accessing the description attribute. Now there's actually a lot of methods you can use on ResultSet. So if you go to your browser and go to MetaCpan, you can look for DBIx class ResultSet. And here you can see all the methods you can use on ResultSet. And remember, you can look at ResultSet as your table where all of your rows are stored, which are the results. So when we access the ResultSet none, we're basically accessing the table. And we're saying we would like to get the first row on that table, which then becomes a result class on which we can access the description. So at this point, we're actually getting back instance of this class. And we know that we have description on our node class. We also have user ID and ID. So I could say, give me, for example, ID, which should be just the first result. Now again, a lot of methods available in ResultSet, but for now, we have made sure the structure is generated, we can connect to the database through DBIx, and we're getting back results. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you at the next one.